Walk onto any hospital ward, and the environment around you is in constant flux. Medical protocols are rewritten, diagnostic technology rapidly shifts and upgrades, and treatment guidelines adapt to new clinical trials. The nurses who navigate this environment successfully share a specific trait: an ability to seamlessly absorb these new realities. But the question is whether this adaptability is an innate personality trait or a structured clinical skill that can be systematically learned. Mastering this constant stream of updates produces a direct, practical result on the floor. It gives a nurse the competence to immediately execute cutting-edge, newly introduced therapies without hesitation. It also provides the fluency needed to break down those complex, novel procedures into clear, accessible language for an anxious patient. Adapting to medical advancements is an absolute necessity. Lifelong learning is an operational, required competency to ensure patient safety and trust. To figure out how nurses actually acquire the mechanics of continuous learning, a recent systematic review examined the clinical evidence. The literature isolated 8 specific strategies required to build this capability. The foundation lies in a combination of intellectual independence and researcher thinking. In practice, this means developing a reflex to ask questions when a patient's response deviates from standard protocols, treating anomalies as opportunities for inquiry rather than mere obstacles. This chart compares course structure against a nurse's drive to learn independently. Notice how, as the rigidity of mandatory continuing education increases, engagement in self-directed learning drops sharply. Over-structuring a program suppresses exploration. Yet, the review also highlights collaborative learning and mentoring as vital strategies. The hospital ward itself operates as a primary classroom. Watching a senior colleague navigate a difficult family conversation provides insights that formal coursework rarely captures. This data visualization illustrates a revealing metric. 37% of a nurse's capacity for self-directed learning is explained entirely by 2 factors: their self-confidence and their sense of belongingness on the unit. The skill of continuous learning is inherently paradoxical. It requires intense, independent curiosity, but that curiosity cannot survive outside of a highly supportive, empathetic group culture. Another key strategy pairing is persistence and need-based learning. Engagement relies heavily on how easily a system solves an immediate clinical problem. If a hospital buries its educational resources behind outdated platforms and multiple logins, engagement evaporates. This flowchart illustrates the mechanics of structuring that learning. It reveals a strict linear dependency. Effective learning requires accurate self-assessment, followed by goal selection and time management. Skip the initial self-assessment, and the sequence fails. Yet the daily logistics of a modern hospital actively disrupt this strict sequence. Chronic time shortages, extreme fatigue, and rigid shift scheduling routinely crush the bandwidth needed for any kind of careful goal setting. This failure starts long before the hospital floor. Nursing school curricula frequently prioritize delivering static medical content over teaching students the mechanics of how to acquire new knowledge on their own. Traditional clinical placements compound the issue. They operate with restricted time slots and compete for a scarce supply of available instructors, many of whom have only marginal awareness of lifelong learning frameworks themselves. Modern healthcare expects nurses to master the skill of evidence-based adaptation, while placing them within an educational and institutional reality that actively obstructs the development of those exact habits. Practicing nurses defend against this stagnation through active engagement, subscribing to relevant clinical journals, attending healthcare workshops, and networking through professional organizations provides a necessary defense against outdated practices. For nursing students, the structural gaps in clinical education are best bridged by simulation-based learning. These environments allow trainees to practice decision-making and critical thinking without putting real patients at risk. But running a simulation isn't enough on its own. Self-reflection acts as the mandatory bridge connecting a simulated problem to lasting clinical improvement. The core flaw in standard reflection, however, is that human memory is highly unreliable. Recalling a chaotic, high-stress scenario filters the actual events through personal bias and degraded recall. Tools like asynchronous video review solve this by converting vague recollections into concrete data. A platform like VideoLab records the consultation, creating an objective baseline that peers and supervisors can accurately analyze and review on their own time. Surviving the constant evolution of medicine relies on forging resilient habits of curiosity and reflection. Those habits require institutions that actually provide the practical tools and a time to maintain them.